Hello patrons, and welcome to yet another behind the scenes video where I explain why I made all the videos that I made in the last month. And in this one I'm also going to have an update section where I just kind of talk about like some of my future plans for content. So if you want to just hear that, there'll be a time code or something on screen. Go to that time code. That's where I'm just going to talk about the future shit. So anyway, these are fucking not in order at all because my content roundups are a total mishmash, but this should be. I hope I'm not about to comment on anything I already talked about in the last one. I don't remember. I don't know why I don't just do these after the third content roundup as opposed to like 2 days later where it's confusing. But I was even going to do that this month, but then I ended up fucking not. So whatever. Okay. So first we have There Is Too Much Anime. This is sort of like a video that is one of my broad concept ones that just kind of exists in the ether. The funny thing about this video is that I think it was a lot more controversial than it should have been. Because while I understand why people might disagree with the sentiment of there being too much anime, this is like a real problem in the industry that is talked about by people in the industry. I'm probably going to continue to talk about this subject in the future because there's a lot of interesting shit about it. And I think a lot of people just kind of, I don't know, maybe misunderstood this video as something that just I was complaining about, like that I have this problem, when it's really something that like is, you know, like directors complain about and shit. But I didn't really present that angle of it. So maybe, you know, as I continue in the future, I can present more of that. But this was also highly inspired by my work with the Flying Colors Foundation, these guys who are trying to initiate, like, you know, ideas to help the anime industry to have less of this problem. And it was a combination of working with them and just, like, thinking about how much fucking anime there is and how much bad stuff gets made. It was directly related to the rant I gave in the Finish or Fail video where I talked about Fuka, and I sort of had this meme-y rant where I like get up out of my chair and I just like go on this whole tirade about how like why is it that this kind of shitty anime gets made that like appeals to nobody. And yeah, that rant kind of got repurposed into this video, which was unscripted. This was one that I just like, I thought this should be a main channel video because a lot of people are going to care about this point, but like it will be easier for me to make it just by ranting than it'll be for me to actually type it out. And the original recording was like 25 minutes long, like not of me talking, of me like sitting in silence considering each phrase. Like that's what it's like if I don't write something out. If I do like a main channel video where it's unscripted, they're usually 5 times longer in the recording than the finished product is, because I spend so much time thinking about what I'm going to say. So it's basically just writing a post, but doing so with a lot more energy because of the fact that it's not scripted. You know, I know Wada was like, thinks this is like my best delivery on any video ever. That's because there's no script. That's why it's such a good delivery. And I didn't say that. I didn't say that because I don't do that anymore. I don't want to tell... People get the wrong idea when you tell them that, you know, like, because I had mentioned that a couple of my videos were unscripted, there was, like, this huge, like, amount of people going, like, oh, Digi's content's gone downhill, he doesn't even script it anymore, and, like, it was shit that nobody would have even noticed that it was unscripted if I hadn't told them. But, you know, that's why most people keep things under wraps in the industry. Clarifying the kind of anime that shouldn't be made was just a follow-up vlog, just to sort of clarify exactly what I meant. I still think a lot of people didn't get it, but it just was meant to clear up one misunderstanding. This is why you can't... There's no winning when it comes to internet argument because of the fact that there's too many different people who you're arguing with who are all disagreeing for different reasons. So this video is basically made to answer one question, but there were a lot more questions that I didn't want to have to answer. So, you know, 1 million ways to love and hate anime. I know this one I came up with while I was watching something stoned. I don't remember what. I think it was just born out of me like watching a show and thinking about like incredibly specific aspects of it that I loved or hated, like, while I was, while I was stoned. And I was just thinking about how, like, man, there's just so many different ways that, like, an anime can be good, that even just background art can be good, And then I also wanted to make something about this idea of, like, people saying, how can you like this show and not this one? They seem so similar, and, like, those two ideas kind of tied into each other really well, and so one of them kind of became the basis for exploring the other. And I've considered doing like, there was a period a few months ago where I was considering doing a video series where I would just, like, break down every different way that anime can be good, but, like, I really feel like that would belabor the point a lot, and a lot of people would just get it. And so, I usually try to make my videos more of, like, a lead a horse to water kind of thing. Like, I usually try to make it more like, here's an idea, now you can apply this to everything. But what I've come to find is that people, more often than not, want me to just apply it to everything. Like, they want me to just take a thing and apply it to stuff so that they can get longer content, That's why I'm going to do longer shows from now on, instead of these short videos, like The Appeal of Art House. Which was entirely inspired. I've told this story already in other places of how this video came about, but May and I were super fucking baked, and we were watching the movie Neo Tokyo, and I was just, like, having this incredibly enriching experience of it. Like, I thought it was just the coolest shit in the world, because it's so fucking aesthetically beautiful. And I was thinking about how it takes its time so much, how, like, the Running Man short is, like, just these incredibly long shots of characters just, like, screaming or, like, pulsating, and how, like, in a normal show or a normal movie, you could never spend that much time on that scene. Like, it would be seen as excessive, but when that's the point, when it's just about communicating that one feeling, that's what makes Art House special. And I was basically telling May all of this right after we had watched the movie. And then in the 20 minutes that she went in to do her makeup, because we were about to leave to go somewhere, I just, like, came upstairs and churned out this video script immediately. And the language is super flowery, because I wrote it while I was baked, and I thought it sounded really cool. And, yeah, that part was just done. And then the next day, or that night I recorded the audio, and then the next day we, because I didn't want to have to send this off to Devu, because he's in the middle of editing my Makoto Shinkai video, this 80-minute epic that's going to be coming out in just a few days, probably. And, so I was like, okay, I've got this little short script. This isn't really much, but whatever. I could probably edit this in, like, no time, because it's almost exclusively going to be clips from Neo Tokyo. So the next day, it just so happened, May and I were going to try Adderall for the first time. And, like, we'd heard it's supposed to make you, like, hyper-focused and, like, productive. So we took the Adderall, and, like, a few hours later, I just churned out all the editing in about 70 minutes. Like, I did the entire video in 70 minutes while she was doing homework. And we both finished at, like, the exact same time. It was beautiful. But, yeah, so it was a very short turnover time for this video, which is why I posted it. And this is another thing. See, I'm trying to distance myself from reading comments, because I get comments like this, and, like, thinking about it hurts my brain, where I got comments that were like, I'm sick of Digi doing these, like, shorter form videos, like, we all get the point, like, it's not really blowing my mind or anything. And I'm like, it's not supposed to blow your mind. It's a video I did in 2 hours and posted because I thought maybe some people might think it's cool, And I'm not here to try to blow your fucking mind with every video I make. Some of it's just for fun. But, this is why I can't read comments. Some more finish or fails. That's just exactly what you've known it to be. The Plebe and the Weeb has come back in a big way. Episodes 2, 3, and 4 of Season 2 came out. Jesse finally got over the hump of the first 2 episodes, which were by far the most intensive editing ones. The rest of it should be a breeze, and he's really just trying to finish it so he can leave the internet. And he considers this his last obligation, essentially. So he's just been churning them out, and they've been fucking great. I'm not gonna get too into the behind the scenes, because there's already, like, behind the scenes documentaries for that for people who kickstarted it. I'm gonna hopefully try to release all the Kickstarter shit at some point. Probably after the show's over, I might start releasing the Kickstarter stuff, but we'll see. Some more Digi and May do Gauntlet. And episode 2 of the Meta Hole, which happened for the obvious reason that's stated in the video, that, like, people wouldn't shut up about my smoking weed. Because I've been mentioning it a lot, because that's what I would do. I smoke weed all the time, so, like, why wouldn't I bring it up? You know, it's kind of integral to what's going on if I'm smoking it all the time. Just like I used to always bring up being drunk, but, you know. I guess that's less of a meme to people. But, like, it was just, like, people, again, with the comments where they're, like, insisting that it's altering the content in some way, that I'm high all the time, even though I made, like, 3 videos where I, like, even mentioned being high, and almost, like, none where I was high. So, like, yeah, it was just a lot of bullshit, and I had to address, and, again, I need to stop reading comments. The more I talk about, like, the more I look at how I react to comments, the more I'm like, why do I read comments? Should you pirate anime, which was just because this dude Unique Namosaurus made a video called You Should Pirate Anime, and his arguments were a little wonky, and people were sending it to me because obviously I'm somebody who's talked about this quite a bit. So I just thought I'd add more perspective to his original rant, because his was, like, interesting but dangerous is kind of how I saw it. Like, I felt like a lot of people were just gonna, like, be like, yeah, this guy knows what's up, and I'd be like, I don't know if you should follow what this guy's saying, you know. Let me offer a alternate perspective, but without being a condescending dick like people were being towards it on Twitter. Okay, you gave Damn a 7. This is the one where I was just commenting on the reaction to the Needle Drops Damn review, and comparing, like, basically I had this one, the idea for this, because I was listening to Damn, and, like, there's certain songs that have lyrics that just, like, really penetrate into my consciousness, and, like, just lyrics that I've thought about all the time, and, like, really have deep feelings about, and, like, how that's probably true for a lot of listeners, and that's why they find it hard to imagine putting it on the same level as a Lil Pump album, you know, which has no emotional depth at all. Old Ass Albums Cast, Hybrid Theory, and Meteora. That, you know, the same thing it has been, though I've put it on hiatus because it's Old Ass Album Cast is weirdly difficult for me to do because it's really difficult to choose which albums I want. And even when there's ones that are important, it's hard to know what I'm going to say about them. So, like, I was kind of struggling between, I was going to do one on a Tool album, but I couldn't decide which album, and I kept flip-flopping. And then I thought, maybe I'll do Green Day's American Idiot, but then I listened to that album and fucking hated it. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll hold off on this for a little bit. We have some PCP podcasts. There was one on the My Little Pony movie, which we had to do because how could we not? Digi and May discuss Koei no Katachi. That one was just the stroke of the fact that we happened to see the movie. You know, like, we didn't see it in anticipation of making anything out of it. We just kind of saw the movie, and as we were discussing it after seeing it, I realized that we had pretty different perspectives on a lot of stuff, and that's why I wanted us to do a video about it. I thought it came out pretty fucking good. It was pretty interesting. Another PCP podcast, The Truth About Plates. This one's kind of explained in the video, but someone on Twitter just sent me this video from some, like, food channel about Rochester's hidden gem of plates, and the garbage plate, rather. And it just felt to me as somebody, even though I haven't lived in Rochester for long, I've sort of bathed in the culture, especially the food culture, which is very distinct. Like, Rochester has an extremely distinctive food culture, and, like, for me, having explored that so much, to watch a video that, like, doesn't really paint that much of a picture, I feel like I'm in a unique position to appreciate it as an outsider because it's so bewildering to me. It's so weird to see how unique the food culture is here that for them to under-explain it kind of pissed me off. So that's why we ended up doing this video about Rochester plates. Got some pub crawl, the Pokemon journey continued, Game Boys continued, and then there was, like, my tie-in, my podcast previews, like Hyperlight Drifter, Depression of Kiki's Delivery Service, trying to stay relevant. Digi's Office. Okay. God. Digi's Office was the idea, because when I went into November, like, October was an insanely successful month for me from a scheduling standpoint. Like, I kind of did this in September. I had, like, a really well thought out schedule in September that I kept to throughout the month, and it was really solid. And then I was working on the October schedule, like, way before the month even started. Like, I was already knocked out, like, the first week of the month before it even began. And all month I was keeping way ahead of schedule, and it went extremely smooth. And so, moving into November, my plan was to get even crazier with the scheduling, and to have, like, a podcast for every single day of the week, and then also have every day a video comes out about my office. And I would just review everything in my office, because the way that my scheduled months have worked so far has been that there was, like, one consistent series going on while there was other shit happening in the background. So in September, it was the reviewing everything on my completed list, you know, and, like, that was every 2 days throughout the entire month. And then there was, the next month was Finish or Fail, and it was every 3 days throughout the entire month, you know, and then there was all this other shit coming out as well. So it was kind of like those videos laid the bedrock of the channel, because it was content people really wanted. Like, both of those were really popular series. Generally, like, loose vlogs about anime on After Dark tend to be pretty successful, and are good, like, they're good, you know, stuff to keep people interested until I put out the next main channel video. But this Office thing was kind of just a big meme. Like, I knew it wouldn't really be a good bedrock because nobody would care about it. I was like, this is not going to be a series people are super into the way they are those anime reviews. But since the plan was to have, like, a podcast every day, it was just to be like, oh, this will be like a small video and then there'll be a big video, you know? I don't know. It wasn't even really a good idea. I just thought it would be fun and funny. So, like, the day I came up with the idea, I immediately filmed 5 of them in a row. And that was, like, all I did that day. It was, like, film fucking office vlogs. And then, like, after that point, I had no interest in doing it again. Like, I just didn't have the energy the next day. There was no particular object in my office that I was that excited about, you know? Which, funnily enough, I've already replaced the things that I said needed replacing in those videos. So maybe they had some benefits. Like, I've got a new TV tray over here, and I just bought a new 40-inch TV today. So, like, I guess it was helpful in some way. But, like, yeah, I just didn't feel inspired to cover any more of the shit in my office. And I thought about doing, like rapid fire through everything else. I thought about doing just one video that encapsulates the rest of the office so people who were interested in the series could see the rest of the stuff I own, and that still could happen, but, like, overall, I just lost the inspiration and enthusiasm about it and just kind of let it run its course and then stopped. We got some Manga Mondays, some Digits Mail, and the time I went back on Joe's terrible podcast. Alright, so moving on to the second week. Animag Weekly. This was the result of, like, a solid year of trying to figure out what the fuck to do with my anime magazines. Because the idea for doing anime magazine coverage began with me reading all these new types that I had in my bathroom. Because I grew up with Anime Invasion, Anime Insider, and Animerica, and Otaku USA. My friend Marcus had a bunch of new types that he gave me, like, 5 years ago, and they're all from, like, 2005, and I had stashed them in my bathroom, and for, like, months I was just, like, bit by bit reading through these, and I found the format of the magazine really fascinating. Like, it's totally different from the format of the other magazines I was reading, and it was, like, the most random spattering of totally shit articles and then amazing interviews that are, like totally necessary to me. So originally my plan was that I was going to make a series of videos where I just explored the format of these magazines, because that's what I'm obsessed with, is format. And then, like, if I found interesting stuff in them, I would take pictures of it and make a Twitter dedicated to tweeting those pictures. But the thing is that while I care about format, that's not interesting to most people. Like, I don't think anyone else is going to give a fuck about, like, the differences in format of these magazines. And I also will never have enough of them. Because, like, when I opened the P.O. box and I told people send me anime magazines, like, I just assumed people would have shitloads of them. Like, I just assumed there'd be tons of people with, like, stacks of old shitty magazines they don't want, and they'd just be flooding me with them. What I didn't really appreciate is that if you've been into anime for less than 10 years, you probably don't have any anime magazines, except maybe Otaku USA, because magazines have been a dead format for a long time. So, like, I didn't really get that many, and the ones I did get were so scattershot that, like, I never had enough of one magazine to feel, like, confident in taking it on. So the series just kind of floundered for a while. Like, I didn't know what to do. And then, finally, this dude in the Digi Gets Mail sent me, like, a bunch of Protoculture Addicts, and that was the magazine I had wanted the most, because it's the oldest anime magazine I knew about, and I'd never actually read it. They used to have a bunch of them at the comic store that I used to live next to, but they had sold out of them by the time I came to finally buy them. Like, someone else had come and bought all of them by then. So I was always disappointed that I hadn't got to read them. So as soon as I finally got one and I started reading through it, I was like, okay, now I really want to do my magazine thing. But, like, I was reading it and I was like, man, this Ghost in the Shell manga review is so interesting because it's a review of Ghost in the Shell from before it was popular, and that makes it fascinating. But, like, if I just took a picture of that and tweeted it, nobody would get why it's interesting. So I should just explain it. And then I thought, what if I just did a whole video on each magazine and what was interesting in that magazine? Hence, we got what we have. So yeah, and I'm not going to keep it weekly because it quickly cut into my Manga Mondays time. Both are shows, like, I read manga when I take a shit, and I read anime magazines when I take a shit. So it quickly became a conflict of interest. And that's why Manga Mondays missed a week last week, because I had spent so much time doing the Animag Weekly videos. So I'm going to try to slow those down. They really don't need to come out as often as weekly anyways. We have Finish or Fail. Healthy versus Unhealthy Bad Media. What the fuck inspired that one? I think I was just, like, thinking about, like, YouTube videos and how they are, like, by and large useless, but they don't hurt anybody, you know? Like how it's fine for something to be bad as long as it, like, makes its money back and everybody involved is happy. Like, the people watching it like it, and enough people are watching it that the person making it gets what they want out of it, you know? Like, it's fine for something to be bad if it's just there to fill in time and keep someone employed, you know? It only becomes really a bad thing when it's, like, a huge failure and you're not even sure why it was made, you know? Because it should be obvious that it was going to be a failure. We got some PCPs. The punk rock AOTY contender you haven't heard, All the Space Have Taken Up. This is just an album I've been fucking excited about all year because, you know, I went to Fern's house back in, like, June. Yeah, like, the very start of June. And it was right after I first met May, and I was touring the country, and I stayed at their house for, like, 3 days. And Fern was writing the song Ember at the time, like, literally performing the first demo of it while I was there. And just hearing them hum it around the house, I instantly had it stuck in my head, and I could not stop singing it while I was there and for all the time since. And Fern, like, every few months would send me a new version of the song that had, like, you know, that was, like, a little bit touched up or had the instruments in it now and, like, all these different versions of it. And I was, like, super hyped for the album, especially when the song Let's Rob a Bank came out, because I got really into that song too. So I was like, man, this could legit be, like, one of my favorite albums of the year if it all sounds like this. Because I've always loved Fern's songwriting, just not really their production. So this one was really solid, and I got to hear it, like, a couple weeks before it came out. I was sent a copy, and then that copy then changed several times. Like, the finished version of the album is not even the first one I heard. And honestly, I don't even like the finished version as much as the original. I miss some of the songs that were culled from it. But, like, you know, it is what it is, and I made a review of it because I was excited, and nobody was listening to it. So I was like, if I can do anything to put more eyes on this, you know, obviously, it wouldn't be weird for me to review an album. Oh boy, we got some more Pokemon Journey, some more Game Boy, some more Manga Mondays. Mario Odyssey is ugly as sin. Oh boy. So, I do not like the aesthetic of Mario Odyssey at all. And so many people have been talking about the game. Vic and Hope were playing it on a Let's Play show. I saw the prereq review. That was where I finally got inspired to talk about it. Nate, Best Guy Ever, had been playing it. Like, I'd just seen tons of footage of the game, and I really don't like the way it looks. And it was during the prereq video about it where they were showing footage of Mario Sunshine, and I was like, oh my god, Mario Sunshine looks so good, and this game looks so terrible. How has no one pointed it out? Like, it seemed weird to me that nobody was calling out the game on its aesthetics, and I think some people will later. I think Matthew Matosis will definitely call it out, because he called out Super Mario 3D World, and it would be mad inconsistent if he didn't call out this game as well. But I just spat a spicy hot take about it on Twitter, kind of expecting more people to agree with me. Like, I thought it was going to be one of those where I say, like, does anyone else think this? And then a bunch of people are going to be like, yeah, me too. But, and there were people who were like that, but there was an overwhelming backlash. Like, far beyond what even I would ever get on a tweet. Like, clearly this had escaped my fans into some other realm. And, people were just, like, shitposting like crazy about it. And a lot of people, like, when I expounded on it and explained my argument, a bunch of people didn't understand. The main thing that inspired me to make a video was that I had said that the game was really flat and geometric, and that Mario 64 wasn't. And so when people were telling me, like, what the fuck are you talking about, that game's not geometric, that was when I was like, okay, I gotta make a video so I can explain this to people and show them the way that Mario 64 has this sort of rolling feel, like everything's, you know, everything's like different elevations and stuff, and Mario Odyssey, everything just looks flat. But even that video, even though, like, I went at it with, like, the intro that, like, this is not an analysis, this is just for fun, I just want to get my opinion out there, I don't really care if this makes any sense, it still went over horribly, so it was probably a mistake, but, you know, it's hard to have a spicy opinion and not share it. And then, yeah, we just got some more podcast clips. The Cultural Appropriation Sun and Moon clip, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now we got the latest content roundup. Animag Weekly #2, Plebe and the Weeb, Digi and May do Gauntlet again, the perfect media platform. So this is inspired by me just thinking about how much I hate the social aspect of social media, and, like, I was envisioning a YouTube, like something like YouTube, except that it just shows you a video. Like, there's no share, there's no comments, there's no culture around it, it's just the product. Like it would be if you went to a movie theater, you know? You wouldn't get all the social media aspect, you just are shown a movie. And I wish YouTube videos could be treated that way, and that, like, lots of internet content could be treated that way. And I want it all in one feed. Like, I want one feed that could have everything I want to follow, you know? And, God, I miss RSS feeds, but, like, they really went out. And, like, there's no easy alternative to it. I've looked into some stuff, and nothing really works the way I want it to. So, you know, I don't think, for some reason people seemed to think, and Devu pointed this out, Devu made some amazing follow-up videos to this, but people seem to think that, like, I was proposing this as a replacement for YouTube, And I'm really not. I just want this to be a site that exists, and that would be the one I would use, you know? Like, I'm not saying you all have to come. No, fuck you. If you're worried that, oh, if people don't reshare my thing, how will it get seen? Just don't use my website, you know? But, I think this would be the perfect media platform. It's everything I want from a media platform. I'm going to cut this clip. So, of course, the follow-up to that was fuck commenter entitlement, because I had said that this media platform would have no comments. Commenters weren't happy about that. Go figure. And, yeah, just talking about how weird it is that, like, there's this culture of, like, needing comments to be there. And really, the problem is just that YouTube is the only reasonable place to host video content, you know? Like, if there were a website with no comment section and videos, I would go there instead of YouTube. But, like, because YouTube is the one, like, you can't just do that. And YouTube has this unfortunate commenter culture that, like, is totally fucking poisonous to the website, in my opinion. I really hate it, and I wanted to rant about it. And, of course, people are still mad about it because they're still commenters. But I don't know if those people can ever really understand the way I feel about it, but I hate comments more than literally anything. Like, there is nothing in the world that I am more angry about than commenter entitlement. And so I don't think me and those people will ever truly see eye to eye. But yeah, fucking Devue's follow-up to this was amazing. His video about why are you so protective of comments, I really liked that. It was like a deep dive psychoanalysis of why people want comments, and it was pretty great. But yeah, I want them gone, and I think I'm probably going to start disabling comments on my YouTube videos and just link people to Reddit posts where they can have discussions. Oh. We have the last Digi and May's Pokemon Journey, Destiny Deoxys, the movie so bad that it broke us, and it was just not fun. Like, it was almost 2 hours, and it was not fun at all, and it was like, oh, this is clearly not going to work out. Like, this series is going to be retarded from now on if we keep having to watch the same movie over and over again, you know? So we just kind of gave up on that. Oh, Big Dig Samurai Nig. I definitely wanted to explain this one. So I've been trying to get into the rap game, and I don't really know what to do. Like, I don't have any connections. I don't have any idea of how to expand. I pretty much just post my music to my own fans. And so, like, almost everybody who listens to my music is just someone who knows me from my videos. There's been no expansion into music fans. Same with my music channel. Like, I made a separate channel for music hoping it would grow with music fans, but so far it's just my fans who watch it, you know, so I don't really know how to break into the music community. And, you know, as my raps have gotten better, I've more and more wanted to do that. Like, Gay and Dead, I think, was a legitimately good album, and at that point I was like, okay, holding this underground is not always going to be a good idea. But so I was, like, seriously considering, like, trying to market myself better and, like, choosing a new rap name. Because I've just been releasing all my shit under, like, either just the name Digibro or Trial of the Golden Witch, which is, like, my, like, umbrella name for all my music. But, it's not a good rap name. So I was thinking I would make a rap name. And, of course, every rap name is either Lil something or Big something. So I went with Big Dig as a shorten of Digipro, and I thought it was the funniest shit ever. So, the way that a lot of popular, like, meme rap, like, mainstream rap is created is that people just get high and go in the studio and make shit up. Like, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of just sitting in the studio making shit up. And I thought I could do that because I'm great at coming up with, like, small, repetitive, obnoxious hooks that will never leave your mind. I can do that all day. And so I had this idea of just getting mad baked and putting on, like, a full, like a YouTube video of, like, an hour of beats and just rapping over all of them. And so I did that. But the beat collection I chose just happened to be samurai themed, which was fucking hilarious. Like, every beat is some kind of samurai themed beat. And I was like, I'll just come up with repetitive hooks and rap them over these beats. Now the problem is that I'm also a show-off, and I wanted to freestyle. So I kept coming up with an obnoxious hook and then freestyling, and then because I was insanely high, I couldn't remember what the obnoxious hook was. You can hear this happen on the very first track, Bitch Too High, where I'm like, the original hook is bitch too high, bitch too hot, bitch too hot, bitch too hot, too hot, which is a great hook. But then when I bring it back later, I'm singing it totally differently because I can't remember how it's supposed to be sung. And that just happens through the whole thing. So it ends up being just all these like tiny little bites of songs that barely work. But like I could tell the idea was in the right direction. But I decided to release it anyways. And like halfway through the album, like halfway through recording it, I realized that the perfect title would be Samurai Nig, which like is too controversial a name for it to ever be a mainstream success. So I only named it that once I had confirmed that it was a big retarded meme and that nobody would ever listen to it. So that's how Big Dig Samurai Dig came to be. And you can hear that happen in the album if you download it, because the halfway through recording it, I explained this, that I would break it up into track, like I would cut out all the songs that make sense as songs, and that would be the version that you see on the Bandcamp page. But then if you download it, you'll get all the additional stuff in between the tracks that was too stupid to leave in the finished product. So if you download the album, it's like 29 tracks. If you listen to it on Bandcamp, it's like 14 or something like that. So yeah, that's a pretty fun little experimental thing that went into that. And stuff that's released since then, we've got another Plebe Weeb. Digi and May Do Anime Movies is the one other new series that started. So this is just basically, originally it was planned around this Ringing Bell thing, because we watched the movie Ringing Bell, and May had said all this stuff about how it reminded her of Ginga Nagaraboshi Gin, and I thought that was a really interesting comparison that only she could have ever made. So I was like, because she just happens to be a huge fan of that show. So I was like, oh man, we gotta find a place to talk about that, but where would it be interesting? Because like, if we just talk about it in a Digi and May Do episode, then I feel like the people it could potentially interest won't really get to hear it. You know, it'll just kind of be thrown in with a bunch of other stuff. But then it also wouldn't have made sense to just do it as its own video, because it would have been apropos of nothing. So, originally, going into November, I was planning to make this Digi and May show. I was even going to make its own channel for it and possibly move all the Digi and May content to one channel. But I was going to make a show where it was going to be in segments, because I've really wanted to have like a format show, and I felt like me and May could do one, like a bi-weekly format show. And the idea would be that we'd have like different segments, like there'd be like a movie review, there would be some kind of food or culture review, some kind of story in there, you know, like just like different parts. And the two parts I had planned were the plates video and the Ringing Bell segment. Like those were both going to be in the same video in this Digi and May show. But eventually I was just like, the plates thing could be its own video. Ringing Bell can just be in like a compilation of us talking about movies. I don't really have enough ideas for this to actually make the Digi and May show. It could happen in the future, but I didn't have enough ideas. So, yeah, those became separate videos. And then, because we had like a few anime movies that we'd seen and we'd had like discussion about, you know, like all the ones that I included, not so much Neo Tokyo, but like the first three were all movies that we had watched and really had like something to say about while we were watching it, or just had a great time. And so I thought, what if we compiled a bunch of these movies into one video and talk about them all, and it'll be really fun. I basically just chose movies that I hadn't covered on my own in 2 weeks review, like movies that I had more to say with May than I did by myself. Hopefully that comes through in the videos. I honestly think that like the amount of thought I put into what is a Digi and May video versus what is a Digibro video is lost on the vast majority of viewers who won't like understand why I don't just do them by myself. These are all movies that I didn't talk about because I didn't think I could talk about them by myself, you know, in the 2 weeks review. But you know, with her there, we kind of had ideas that bounced off of each other, so Yeah, that's why that got made, but I do think it ended up being like maybe a little bit too long. I probably could have gone through and like actually edited it a bit more, and that's kind of something I want to do going forward. So now we're going to talk about my plans for the near future on the channel. A lot of these long-running series I've been doing, I'm kind of canning. I'm not as into this idea of having constant content as I am into, like, honing it down a little bit. Because, like, you know, we've seen shows come and go that weren't, like, the best idea. Like, Game Boys, I don't think worked out that well. Me and Hippo want to move to a different format, but it's going to take a lot longer to produce those videos, you know. Digi and May's Pokemon journey kind of, you know, it's over. Now we're doing the movie videos, but those will not be weekly. Like, we have to have seen a certain number of movies that we have things to say about, you know. So basically, I'm just trying to cut everything down from being like this deluge of stuff and then try to like perfect the ones that I do have. You know, instead of having to scramble to have something every week, it'll be like, let's take this one thing and make it good. So like Digi and May movies, like next time I'll probably edit it more and I'll try to have like a little bit more energy in there, because I do think that one was a little bit low energy because some of those movies we hadn't seen in months, you know. So I might record segments like right after we watch the movies or soon afterwards so that we remember a little bit more. You know, I might change the nature of certain stuff. I've got my schedule for December of like what shows are absolutely staying. Like Manga Monday is still going to go on as it has been. The two podcasts, the patron exclusive podcast with the $15 tier will keep trucking on. Those have both been going incredibly well. I love doing Digi Does Life in 2 weeks review. Like, I always end up having ideas for them. Digi Does Life can be a little bit repetitive, but I think that's been one of my strongest podcasts in general. People seem to really like it. The Animag bi-weekly. So, like, Animag Weekly, I think, has been doing really well. Like, I already do put editing into it, and I put a little bit more time in. I think because it's mostly reliant on the magazine being interesting, it's a lot easier for me to, like, have every video be interesting. I actually do cut out segments. Like, sometimes I'll read a part or, like, talk about something, look at it later, and realize it wasn't that interesting, and I just cut that out. So, like, yeah, that one already is doing pretty fine, but they will be less frequent because it cuts into too many other videos to do it more frequently. Pub Crawl will just keep coming out as usual. The Digi and May movie reviews will be once a month. And that's all I've really got written down. That's like a guarantee for next month. Game Boys, I don't know like how it's gonna go when me and Hippo do it, because he's been super busy all month and we haven't even really played the game we're planning to cover. But you know, I'm definitely gonna try to focus on continuing to have like one main channel video a month, and I kind of want to slow the other channels down to kind of look like that. You know, like I want it to be that Digibro videos are a little bit more hard-hitting than they have been, you know? And I also just want to disappear from the internet. Like, I'm really trying to go on, like, a social media blackout, and because it's not only is it very distracting to be on social media, but it makes me hate my job. You know, like, it makes me hate posting videos that I have to deal with this whole other element that has really nothing to do with the creation of videos, you know? And I don't really enjoy it. I don't get much out of social media anymore. Twitter's been completely ruined for me by the stupid liked tweets, by the 200 fucking however many characters, and just, yeah, and the fact that I've got so much, like, heat on me, essentially, for controversial statements and opinions that, like, I can't open my mouth without people fucking jumping down my throat, you know? So, yeah, I'm just kind of... I don't want to be on social media or read comments anymore. I just want to fucking work. I just want to go off the internet and alternately smoke weed with my girlfriend and play video games and work. And that's all I want to do. No social bullshit in between, but I'll still be in the Discord because, you know, it's a fun place to be. So, yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of that update. I'll keep you posted in the future. Miguel out.